Welcome to Sri and Kira Live. As our world spins seemingly out of control, we are all experiencing time speeding up, chaos shifting to a new level, and a yearning to know the greater mysteries of the universe. What does it all mean? Visionary spiritual teachers and best-selling authors Sri Ram Kaur and Kira Ra explore these mysteries, offer live soul readings, and invite you to open up your mind, body, and spirit to the paradigms that are shifting. Bringing you fresh perspectives and timeless wisdom, here are Sri and Kira.
Namaste and welcome to Sri and Kira Live. I am wisdom teacher Sri Ram Kaur.
And coming to you from our beautiful Bhutanese prayer flags up in our prayer garden and some of these wondrous condors that were flying around this morning, I am Master Lady Kira Ra, and welcome to a very special edition of The Voice of Passion and Action, because today Sri and I are going to be doing more of a workshop.
Absolutely. Today's format, we have much to share. There's so much going on in our world.
It's just too important, guys. This is one you got to sit and take notes.
The energy. So here's what we're asking you to do. First off, jot down our telephone numbers. I want to make sure I read them correctly. So if you have a question about what we are teaching and sharing today,
even like as we're teaching, if it comes up and goes, wait a minute, I have a question about that,
just call. We're not in the chat, so just call 888-627-6008. That's 888-627-6008. That's for questions about the content that we're sharing with you. If you would like a mini soul reading or advice on an ascension symptom, physiology, whatever's personal, then call 517-208-1500. That way we'll know which direction we're heading with you. Right. 517-208-1500 for personal questions, mini soul reads, that kind of thing.
And 888-627-6008 if you have questions about the material and the content that we're going to be talking about. Because, guys, Shri's already got it going on, right? Bring a hand to your heart. Yeah. And, you know, we felt it was really important to bring you our beautiful sky. Because if you take a moment, I'm just going to kind of drift away here. We have 44 prayer flags here at Tosa Blue Mountain. All of them were beautifully acquired in Bhutan by our beautiful group when we were there. Many of them came home in suitcases. Some of them have been sent to us from around the world. But when you gaze up at this prayer flag, you see our sky. It is the limitless opportunity before us. It is the blue moment. It is the moment where we are igniting. It is that energy of the benevolent leadership, the benevolent king, queen, that unified presence. This moment, and I know a lot of you are saying, hey, Sri and Kira, you know, it's Mother's Day. I want to share this with you. For all of us, are we not all mothers? Are we not all fathers? Is not every day Mother's Day? Is not every day Father's Day? Is not every day a moment to celebrate?
Yes.
And so today we're opening with our condors. I think Shri is really embodying the condors. Here, come hug me or something.
All right,
come over into the area of the flags.
There they are.
There we go. So you can really see all of our beautiful babies there. They actually nest right at the very, very top of our mountain here at Tosa Blue Mountain. Today is that moment, you know, as we are moving into it. And the reason we're coming in with this moment of imagery is notice that the sky here has 0 chemtrails. We do not even have air traffic over us. We are not affected by 5G yet. I'm sure that will happen at some point in the future, but in this moment, it's not. And so I invite you to just breathe in our flags. Breathe in the energy of peace, breathe in the energy of love, and breathe in the energy of joy, because what's happening in May right now, and I'm just going to jump in and show one graphic before we go into any of the other things that are happening here. And so I want to go ahead, and there we are. This is the May calendar. This is the up-level calendar, which if you own the up-level calendar, you have this in your calendar. It is also that which, if you are looking at for the first time, what you will see is that May is the first month where the first of the 3 gates of 2021 opens. And this gate is actually one that has been playing with time already. And it began the last day of April. I just want to update you if you have not seen this calendar before. If you look at the Friday, right there before the first day of May, you see that? That's part of a ray or a radiation literally from the future that came forward to us and hit humanity on Friday, on the last day of April. And if you follow that ray, you'll notice where it intersects. And one of the places that it intersects dramatically, and it matters for us this week, is Tuesday, the 11th. And so the first thing I'll share is you must be there live for Soul Mirrors, because we are going to be doing ceremony together. And when you look at that ray and you see what's happening, what you're also noticing is that that ray will then intersect Mercury retrograde on the day it begins, which means, and why it's so important for this week is, before I close this share, look at Friday. So the coming week, and we're already in it. And you see how right now we're in this violet ray ignition portal, which I'll talk about in a moment. This is the first moment that violet ray portal is open. When did it open? It opened in April. This is our first full month where we have been able to come into this portal. So this week, the 9th through the 15th, you are looking at, we are already right now in this moment together. It makes my heart sing, in the illuminated new moon. That is coming in Tuesday. And this one is coming in big, bright, and carrying a timeline shift. And then we're going to take all that energy and dive into Friday when the pre-phase, when the Mercury retrograde pre-phase begins. And this Mercury retrograde is so powerful that I've had people already writing me and go, no, Kira, it already began. And I'm like, no, we're not even in the official pre-phase. Yes. It tells you how awesome this moment's going to be if we say yes to the moment. And Shri, it brings us to, should we sit or do you want to stand?
I was just taking a break there while you were teaching the calendar.
He was taking a break while I was teaching the calendar. I love it. All right, so Shri, I want to dive into, many of you have, and the best way to talk about what's happening right now, because this isn't just this moment. It is because we have reached this harmonic gate that this moment exists.
Yes.
And so this is why we're bringing this information back in. And for those of you that have already taken this class, it is from the 7 Polarities of Free Will. And we are in a moment going to show you what we put out in 2015, and I challenge you not to be as really almost jaw-droppingly stunned beautifully as we were at how accurate that 7-year was. And to talk about where we are now, that's the moment at hand. So let's talk about that, the 7 Polarities of Free Will and what that is.
Sure, absolutely. Because we offered this sharing in 2015.
We first put out 2015. Mm-hmm.
And at that time, our intention was to bring forward the sacred information as it had been shared with us, to bring forward the discernments and the wisdom as come in as we have gained in experience and consciousness here on this planet. And the one thing to remember is that everything in density is based around polarity, subject, object, plus, minus, male, female, happy, sad. Everything is based around polarity. Right. And that we find through the course of our lives how to kind of be in the center between the poles, because that creates a more peaceful comfort zone. However, true ascension, the yoga of self-ascension, is to move beyond the field of polarity.
Yes.
That's a different topic, so to speak. That's beyond density. However, density itself is always, and this world of creation and form is going to be dancing with the polarities. And free will gives you an opportunity to choose how you will energize this natural theme, this natural energetic. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to put a chart up in a while here to show more of that. But it's important to understand that every year within this strata of Earth School has certain themes that are more dominant than other themes.
And chakras. And what's happened, and what you'll see, is that we have been through this 7-year window that was started. Remember, it was the Ascension Escalator. Go back through our YouTube channel, find all the stuff we put out. I love that it's sitting there. And so go look at it, because it's going to mean more to you right now. And that 2015 energy, that escalator, we're there, guys. We're getting ready to disembark. And in this moment, what we're disembarking into is still formulating. This is why it is such a profound moment for us all. This is why the April, remember in April, it was about what? It was like, look, this month matters, this month matters, this month matters. And here we are in this moment of choice. The May energy is choice, and we have arrived at the crown. Meaning, this whole year, 2021, on the escalator to ascension, to this up-level experience, to what has been literally on a steady climb, if you've been willing to stay on the escalator, is now in this moment in the crown chakra. And this began earlier this year. Those of you that have taken the program, have taken the home study, which is, it's very inexpensive. It's at our website. Go grab it. If you've taken it, you understand this at a deeper level. And it's the call, and the reason that I mentioned that we're sharing this material because this moment is now, it is because we have come into the moment where in this time experience that we are in right now, and we are going to be gifted an opportunity on Tuesday to dive into the new moon and call greater balance into this time parallel. We don't want to surf out of this time parallel right now. We need to stay here. We can see what needs to be done, but coming this Tuesday, when that alignment will offer many the opportunity to shift out of this parallel, meaning that the highest version of themselves is shifting somewhere, you always remain wherever you are. All of those aspects are happening, but it's only the highest aspect of the self that can command the timelines. And so that's, if you're resonating with this, this is the highest version of you. And together we are better. We need to know each other. We need to be remembering who we are. Because here's what's happened to the nervous system of the body. And this is really the take notes, get ready. I've got some links I'm going to give you later on. This is a moment where Shri and I have spent steadfastly, and I am going to put up a quick, is it this one, honey? This mouse that we're using? Yeah. Forgive me, guys. I am going to put up a very quick graphic because this is that important, and you might want to write this down too. Shri and I have been holding open. I'm showing you here a masculine, feminine. This is not necessarily a gender-specific diagram. What we are sharing with you and what Archangel Zadkiel has always shared with us is it's never been about the split sexual identity of a body. It's always been about the balance and unification of energy. So when a unified field, whether this is within the one or two ones creating another one, this field, this torus field, this 0 point energy generator, the framework of support that keeps this open can only be fed through the fuel of the continually circulating trisual of steadfast commitment, focused awareness, and complete trust. This is how we sustain the upper chakras. And this is going to be really, really, really important by the time we hit the end of this year. Yeah. And we're going to talk about more of that later.
Well, I just want to pause there for a second, because the world, the external world, is a world that is based upon polarity and Velcro. The Velcro comes in at the lower chakras, and I'm using Velcro as a generic term for that which wants to engage you, to stick with you.
But is easily disengaged.
And that all that takes is consciousness.
Right.
However, for those that aren't bringing their consciousness to that effect, they're going to find themselves continually stimulated with safety issues. Fear is going to be hitting at the base of their chakra system.
And let's go deeper with that about the nervous system, Shri, because what's so important is that that's where we're going. And I don't want to spoil that any surprise yet, because that's what he's giving you the good stuff. So, and that's good. You want it. However, your nervous system needs to be able to receive it. And so where Shri really, where what we need to hear from you today is your nervous system of this physical body is being hammered constantly. And the reason I showed you the steadfast commitment and the focused awareness and the complete trust is because our nervous systems do have 20 years of conditioning. And we have had each other for the journey, which Archangel Zadkiel said, you will have each other for the journey. And sincerely, as we sit here 20 years later, that is the truth. Yeah. And the gift of that is that we have been through experiences and things that we pray you will not ever have to endure. And it was our journey to arrive in this moment at a moment when the universe is inviting all of us to say, hey, there's a second act sitting here, and it's bigger than the first, and it's more awake, and it's extremely clear. You are that, unless one thing stops you, and it's your nervous system. Because the entire experience of consciousness right now for the entire planet, all of humanity right now is wrestling right here. It's all crown. And this is why the nervous system is this year's important task, and why we're calling your attention to it. And so, Shri, I'm gonna sit, and I'd like you to share with them what this means to the crown chakra, why it is the nervous system, what's happening, and this is really important because it's going to answer questions.
For those of you that are flowing in here, this year,
whole year,
in the escalator that we have been on since 2015, that is culminating here, it's about this chakra, the seventh chakra. Now, the seventh chakra is the chakra where your crown opens to the divine flow more fully. And what that brings forward is a purity of energy into the nervous system, unlike that energy that has been refracted and distorted and has gone through the waves of density, the waves of the earth environment. So let me say this differently. Many people talk about ascension symptoms. Many people talk about all the things that have been happening for the last several years as Gaia has been lifting and the opportunity for all beings to lift. And, you know, things like hearing sounds in your ears and vision changes and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of disorientations. But really the culmination of that is an open crown chakra, open to the purity of the divine wisdom. That comes straight into the brain. Your seventh chakra sits right at the top of the brain of the physical body. So as that light is entering, it is sending an increased flow through the nervous system. Now that flow can result in a variety of responses in the body. Remember, the nervous system touches everything, everything. And some people may find, well, no, it hits me in different ways, this up level of energy, because they have other issues going on in other parts of the body that the nervous system is touching. But consider for a moment, if your crown opens and you are open to more light, it's time then to expand through all dogma. And this is a major challenge for humanity. Dogma, in its simplest sense, are the rules defining reality, defining spirituality especially. So dogma are the conventions that have been put in place that limit the ability to flow with pure spiritual essence, because they were put in place to control the human experience, to create predictability. And so many people will find that their whole sense of stability begins to shift as the dogmas become more porous, less fixed, and they're noticing a greater call to a universal spirituality versus a formal system of spirituality.
And you know, Shri, what are the diseases? I know there's some specific diseases that are really, because we're seeing a rise in this right now.
Well, anything that is related to the nervous system has the potential to become forward. And that can be anything from ADHD to Parkinson's to MS and other neurological dysfunctions or disorders.
Right, so let's look at that. So there's the labels and there's the words, right? So now let's unwind that and say, what are the experiences that many are starting to have? Look at the uptick in Alzheimer's. Or, you know, MS is often, as Shri so brilliantly has shared so often, that MS is often someone who's having a big conflict with their spirituality.
Well, there's
it's usually
a
the final
resistance to the flow, and,
right.
and Parkinson's the same. It gets to the point of the
nervous
the tremors.
system.
the resistance to the flow through the nervous system. And so there's all kinds of things that can respond, because we're not just one thing. We are spiritual beings having our human experience, and we're being called to return to the authentic identity that we are indeed spiritual masters who incarnated.
Ooh, right? And so breathe that in. Thank you, Sri. That's so amazing, because that is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I love it. So let's talk about the nervous system effects, because here's what's happened. In our May choice month, we know through the Ascended Numerology it's all about our truth. If your nervous system is not conditioned to this massive up-level sound waves, and especially what happened May 1, right? How has it been? I mean, seriously, everyone I've been talking to is like, the retrograde already began. It's like, no, honestly, it hasn't, just pre-phase, but here's why
this explosion
flow,
of energy, right, that came in May 1
is massive.
It may feel like anything else is a retrograde.
Right, exactly, right? And so here's what you need to know. What is the effect that fear has been having on your nervous system? If you are still carrying fear, and Sri and I are witnessing it, we see the emails. My heart is so big around all of you. We are blessed because we really don't check into the fear stream. And you can very much exist in the experience of this world and this co-created experience right now without having to check into the fear stream. However, the only way you can free yourself from that is by assisting your nervous system to become more robust so that you receive clear messages and thereby are receptive, because we need to be able to receive in order to bring in our mastery presence.
Right.
So fear, and I want to read, I did a little digging, and then we're going to talk about love. So we're going to talk about what does fear do to your nervous system and what does love do to your nervous system. And we have been in sacred union. Sri and I are I say it to everyone, we're more in love every day. So I know the effect of love on the nervous system. And I think you do too, just by witnessing Sri and I. And the reason I'm sharing that is because not only are we demonstrating that, I could not find, and with your wonderful degrees and all that you have, I could not find one study where they looked at the effect on the nervous system of love that is not centered in the emotional body. Mm-hmm. Every single study I found, not one talked about what you're going through. What happens when you discover self-love? What happens when you become a whole person? But what was interesting for me was that, and I'm just going to share this so we can get back to the fear, right? Don't want to not give it its due. But here it is. The one thing, I'm just going to read it to you guys rather than lean over, because this I thought was fascinating. So here's what I found, that all the research that I found, and I looked, was based upon emotional love. Mm-hmm. And there was not one study that linked into love that was not based around this density. So what it shares with us is that this is why we are in that moment of expanding consciousness. This cannot be studied because they didn't even know it existed. So the first thing you want to do is give yourself a pat on the back and say, okay, I get it. The fact that I even get this means that I need to acknowledge that I am a master, right? You are a master. And then here's what I did find, which I think overlays with the fear so well, Sri, which is romantic love causes a surge of activity in the brain areas that are rich in dopamine. Now, this is romantic love, right? So it's that feel good. Other chemicals are, of course, oxytocin, which deepens our feelings of attachment, and vasopressin, which is linked to trust. And this I found fabulous, because what does Archangel Zadkiel always say? That trust and love are the same thing. And here they proved it. I just loved that. I was like, thank you, Zadkiel.
One of the things that happens is romantic love teaches us to open.
Exactly.
There's a wonderful learning that happens, and of course it feels wonderful, but it's a bit of a roller coaster, yes?
Exactly.
But the opening that happens is one that can also be applied to the spiritual channel. When we love the divine, when we trust the divine, are we not stimulating the same neurological conditions that romantic love begins to open? They go down different pathways. The key here was that word trust. When we are in a mystical communion or a deep trust of the divine, our entire nervous system and a lot of the hormones settle down. We're able to have resilience to the fluctuations in life. Whereas on the fear side, there's so much adrenaline and reactivity running that every little thing is another signal to be more afraid.
And here's where I love, let me backtrack on those words. I do love what happens here, because fear can become pleasure. Fear can become pleasure because it's triggering the same chemicals. This is why we get addicted to fear. And because this is 100% science, and I have all the links to share with you, what it's saying is that your fear is absolutely something that can be calculated, that can be marketed, that can be exacerbated, and that can be expanded just as easily as love. And I want you to take in the conscious choice. Every one of us, not an outside they or them or whoever, every one of us is triggering the exact same chemical responses when we are in emotional love, which is fine because fear is at that same experience, or the fear.
Yeah.
This is why you love the scary ride.
Yeah.
This is why you love the scary movie, because you're triggering the same exact chemical that feels the same way in the body. The body doesn't care how it got triggered. The body's just glad it's there. And so this is an important discernment for May. I want to go back to last week's show. I pray you listened to it. If not, you should go back and check it out. I had all more of the predictions for May. May is a month where we're all in the water, but the water's polluted. And so May is the month where you want to find a beautiful, gorgeous island. And how do you know you found that island? You feel good about you.
Yeah.
You feel joy. You feel inspired. You're happy, right? And this is a month where fear, and that fear energy is and I think it's time to sit and go to the chart. I think they're ready.
Well,
you think
before
they're ready
we do
for the
that,
chart?
I want to talk a little
All right,
more
you talk a little more, but we're going to go to the chart, guys, because you're ready. We had to get you ready.
Well, it's important in the discussion
Yeah.
to understand that your thoughts are always associated to the emotional reactivity going on. And just consider for a moment, if you get a pulse of fear, you will have images in your brain, thoughts in your brain that correspond to that emotion, that justify its existence. You can't hold a loving scene of laying at the beach and be deeply relaxed at the same time as you see a poisonous snake, or a car is pulling in front of you or something. You can't do that. They don't exist that way in the human system. And so when we have a fear-based reality as the dominant way to receive the neurohormones, the dopamines, and all of the transmitters that we enjoy having, then we are creating an environment that will replicate more and more fear because we're having that imagery.
Exactly.
And we've bought into it as real.
Yep.
When we have a love-based reality, there isn't as much density stimulation for the love experience. It has to generate from inside when we look deeply beyond the dance of the egos out there or whatever it might be, and we look at the purity.
Yeah.
We can begin to then activate that love-based response. And this is why Archangel Zadkiel has shared with us so many times, keep your eyes on the divine.
Right.
See the divine, the underpinning in nature, in people, in all creation, and you will stay connected to that experience of a love-based reality that offers you trust, that offers you peace and support, and thereby is the foundation for joy.
Yes, right? I'm just going, yes, 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 and yes. And Shri, here's something that I really want to call forward is that the fear, I want you guys to remember this. I wanted to read this again because fear is physical. Fear can make you feel foggy. If you are fearful, you will never be clear. The two cannot simultaneously exist. It is a proven fact that fear will clog your brain. Fear also becomes pleasure, as I mentioned earlier, because it releases dopamine. Fear releases dopamine. So when fear is experienced in your mind, because that's where you're really experiencing it, right? It begins in the mind, but then it becomes a physical manifestation. So if you're feeding your mind with fear, then your body is a manifestation of fear. Then you are addicted to fear. Thereby, it will take a massive amount of self-love to break free. Let me give you a scenario. Chances are you know somebody like this, or you've been this person. I can put my picture on this scenario. You know someone who absolutely knows they need to shift a situation they're in. Mm-hmm. And when they're with you, they're clear and they're ready and they're strong and they're empowered and they've got all the right words. And then they go back into their situation, and because of whatever unresolved fear is within them, normally one they don't even know they're carrying, they backslide, so to speak, because they're addicted to the dopamine of the fear itself. And so even though they felt all those wonderful glimpses of freedom, they're still addicted to what they're feeling when they're receiving that same physical energy from a different stimulus.
There's also a sense of stability that comes from the known perversion.
Right? No, there is. You know the routine, right?
You know the routine. Yep. Yes, it's not
this is what I'm going to do. This is what they're going to do.
But there's a sense of perverse safety that comes from the predictability of it. Versus I'm transiting out of my fear-based reality into a more wholesome, love-based reality. But there's a gap. There's an uncertainty. Can I do it? Will it work out? Do I really have what it takes?
Yeah.
You know, etc. Whatever your particular self-doubts are will be activated as you want to transition into another context for your life. And so people bump into that and they go, and they drift back in.
Or they're ready.
Or they go through it.
So before we put up this chart, I sincerely do want to share, because we've never really put this out on the air before. And now that we're in 2021, it's important that we do. And we've been holding since January. And so the reason we're releasing the whole chart right now, and again, if you really want to understand this, go take the class. But here it is. This is the 7 polarities of free will chart that Sri and I put out in 2015. And in 2015, all of the divine directors, the masters, the archangelic realm offered this information. And so we put it out there. There is a class we taught around this. It's still out there. It is as relevant now as it was then. But what I want you to first notice is this is what we have been talking about earlier. What we put out is that there would be ever increasing polarity, and that this would increase like the chakras. And that there were 7 actual polarities of free will, and that we were getting ready to enjoy them all. And that it would be choices and being aware. So let's look at this. And Sri, let me just first share that. So if you look on the left side, you notice that as exists in this planet, there are the forces of destruction and the forces of co-creation. So during this entire 7-year period, the force of destruction in density has been fear. You've had 7 years of heaping helpfuls of fear, right? And you notice we put this out long before the politics changed. This was still 2015.
Right.
We were still in a very different world then. And then you look over and you see that the force of co-creation has been the self-ascension. It has been about calling forward. And I will say during this escalator to ascension, I know for a fact what going through in the trust energy has called forward. And I know that you guys do too as well.
And so as we take a peek here at the progression that has been going on for the last several years, that 2015, the fear would be expressed through the root chakra, and that would create a variety of situations, and you can see them on the chart there.
And it's not, what you're seeing is that every year had a chakra affiliated with it. Mm-hmm. And so the fear would send people, and Sri can talk a little bit more about that. However, we want to go through these. We don't really want to go through every year. We want you to just kind of take it in as a whole. What we want to talk about is the last 2. 2020 and 2021, because I remember back in 2015, do you remember? We had people write us and go, oh, I hope that's not right. You guys, you suck. You know, we got all that. And, you know, we didn't put this out to do anything other than say, this is the information we've been given and you have the choice. You know, and humanity still has a choice, and that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. We have more to share with you other than this chart. So what I want to go to is the density energy and the ascended energy. So in 2015, I think hate and peace really do talk about the root chakra.
Absolutely, and peace doesn't happen if you don't feel safe in your root. Is one of the things to understand. So it's where do we derive our safety from? Are we connected to our spirituality and feeling some trust in the divine, or are we connected to something in the outer world that we're expecting to take care of ourselves?
And you know, as we're sharing this with you right now, remember, you've been going through this whether you knew it or not over the past 7 years. You may want to notice what you're noticing. And so in 2016, we did all move up to our second chakra, and it brought in two very interesting energies, powerless and empowered.
Yeah, and powerlessness, it basically, you're going to see how things kind of grow, the column grows, because this isn't to say everything is all one. We all have moments where we're more connected and more inspired, where we might feel empowered or we might feel peace, and then we'll have the moments of the fear-based density energy.
Right.
And one of the useful things about this is it awakens your discernment.
Yeah.
It helps us remember we can choose where to put our focus, where to put our energy, and what to believe in.
And then we went to 2017. And, you know, I do want to share, Sheree, that as you're saying this, I want to remember again, guys, look up at the top. We have the force of destruction, which, as we had shared, for those 7 years, it was going to be fear. And what's concerning is that has shifted for 2022. And then the force of co-creation was going to be trust, and that is shifting as well when we go into 2022. And we'll be talking about that. But remember that fear is a reaction. Trust is a beingness. So you have reactiveness or beingness, fear or trust. So remember that along with the fear and the trust, it's been the reactiveness that has also been growing. I mean, look what's happened to the reactiveness. Look at how it's culminating. And it's also been the beingness. We have been in a moment of our greatest escalation into our greatest ascended presence ever. And 2017 showed us that because it was manipulation or flow.
Yeah, it's kind of a little amusing from today's perspective, because 2017 is when we saw the first big Bitcoin rise, and that the fiat currency was mistrusted and money was flowing out of that system.
Well, and look what was in there in the, you know, we're not going through everything we wrote. You could look at it.
But the whole notion of releasing financial dependency and moving to a whole nother context.
Right.
So that began to gain momentum then.
Exactly. And then you look at 2018. This was really, and you look back at what happened there, it was also interesting because climate change and, you know, collaboration versus, you know, natural disasters, extinctions, greater rise in chemtrails, control or compassion. This was the first sign that the fifth dimensional presence, that is, remember, compassion is the key ascended word for entering fifth dimensional space.
And compassion can only arise when we have a sense of peace and trust. Without that, it's unstable.
Exactly. And then we came to 2019, and that was where all of humanity had to start looking at the truth. And the political instability, you know, what happened, what came forward. I remember when we put this out, we're like, wow, you know, okay, we'll put it out, but look at it.
Yeah.
And then it really focused on greed. Imagine fear catapulting into greed, and see how those energies, even the way that the addictions came in. You notice this is why people are separating, families are separating, they're getting so polarized because fear is so heavily addicted. But what also happened on the other side of that was love. People started to say enough. Right? And love started rising again. The L word came back in big ways and other ways.
And once again, remember that you have the capacity to be or participate with all of this. Everything's permitted. The question is, where's your commitment?
Exactly, exactly. And then 2020.
2020.
And you know, this is true, the density energy. Remember, COVID came in 2019 is when it really started,
yeah.
really started hitting the world. And look what the density energy for 2020 was. It was hopelessness. It was doomsday predictions, anger, no future, lack of vision, and a stark rise. Not that fundamentalism wasn't there, but it was going up with all of the, what many of you would call conspiracy theory energy, and it was the third eye. This is what happens with the third eye, is that when the fourth dimension has collapsed and has come in as much as it has, there's only one way you can go. You can either be totally covered in it, which means your hopelessness means you are completely reactive to the fear that's controlling you, or you can step up, break free, put your trust in the divine nature of you, and enjoy the greatest clarity, the greatest vision, the greatest flow of knowledge. Look, it was last year. It was 2020. This is when the up level came in. This is when the up level was given. When this came out in 2015, we didn't even know about the up level because we hadn't even done all the time shifts that we needed to do to arrive in this time frame, where in 2015, Shri and I put this into this time frame, and the Shri and I that have come in now are here to make sure that 2022 looks a lot different.
So one of the things I want to bring to your attention is that 2020 is about the third eye, the sixth chakra. And the sixth chakra is your vision.
Right.
Now, I mentioned fundamentalism in the terms of dogma when we talked about seventh chakra, but this affects your sixth chakra as well. Your six and your seven very much dance together. Your seventh chakra is receiving that pure stream of divine energy. The sixth chakra is where you personalize it. So, said another way, here's where you listen to your spirit guides. Here's where you listen to the divine.
So breathe that in. And this is why you need star consciousness.
Yes.
So let's talk about that as well.
One sentence more than I will. Where we personalize the divine stream, which means our beliefs can directly color and influence that which we believe is true. It's just coming into the physical at this point. And so if we believe in racism, if we believe in a different world reality, we're going to take all that divine energy and use it to energize the disconnect, to energize the alternate reality. And to some extent, you have the right and the privilege to be able to do that because the energy is being given to you.
You are the co-creator, right? So let's take a moment, and this is so critical. Before we put up the chart again for 2021, what's so critical here is that 2020 was the third eye. Hopelessness. Think about that energy, and think about COVID, and think about fear that had been building as a catalyst since 2015. We know these cycles, right? We knew the 7-year cycle was here. We knew we were dealing with this fear trust energy, and it's a conscious choice. That's why we're sharing this with you now, because the injection of COVID into this stream at 2019 is very synchronistic with the up level. It's a reminder that the forces of benevolence are right here, and that all we have to do is lift out of this sense of being. And this brings us to, and I want to remind you, and then we're going to talk about our star consciousness and go back to this. I want to show you the Einstein-Rosen bridge. So some of you may be familiar with this, some of you might not be. But the Einstein-Rosen bridge, or wormhole, is really the best example of concentric dimensionality and spiral time that I could ever offer to you. And it really begins with what Shri and I showed you earlier. I showed you how that framework of support, how this torsion field, how you stabilize it. You cannot even begin to fully embrace the incredible blessing and depth of concentric dimensionality that you deserve to embrace unless you can really wrap around these two quotes from Einstein. So I want to unwrap the first one, and this is all before we go to our star consciousness, because it's all tied together, and this is right about May right now. Energy is everything, and that is all there is to it, period. So let's breathe that one in.
Yes.
Right? That's it. Then, I mean, I love this. Einstein's like, well, here's your step-by-step, right? Match the frequency of the reality you want. That is what we do in our lineage holder gatherings. This is what we do when we're time surfing, right? Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. That's what we've been doing as the lineage holders. And so if you are holding a reality of fear, you are breeding a reality of fear. So if you are aware of it, then just consciously forgive yourself and bless yourself through the experience and let go of the judgment of it, and it gets rid of that. Because here's the rest of the quote: it can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics, right? You know, and then here's my second favorite quote.
Yes. Concerning
matter. We've been all wrong. I mean, I love Einstein. You guys know I'm just so in love with Einstein, right? We've all been wrong. We've just been wrong. Let's just get it out there. Get the ego gone. Let's move on, right? And so here it is. What we have called matter is energy, whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. Now, what I enjoy the most about that is what Einstein is saying is, this is the illusion. This is the illusion. It's just a beautiful way of assisting the left brain to ease into that. And so in that illusion, right here, it's about 1.5 inches above your third eye, where my beautiful husband has kind of marked it for you with his beautiful crystal that he has on. This is known as our star consciousness. And we're not going to go into a full star consciousness attunement, but what I will tell you is that there is a practice. It's called the star practice. And there is a video right at our YouTube channel, Official Shri and Kira. Search it, get it, learn the star practice, learn what this is, because it balances. And I'm going to just pop this up one more second, and then we've got lots of you holding. We'll go to some phone lines in a moment, but I want to put this up one more time so that you can see that in 2020, while the third eye was really being slammed, lot of false prophet energy. Lots and lots and lots of very popular people right now are very attached to their ego, because the ego of the fourth dimension loves hopelessness because it's very profitable. And so the divine nature came forward. And in the trust of the divine nature, what happened between 2020 and 2021, for those of us that jumped out into our multidimensional presence, is that we were able to hold and call forward our star consciousness as fully open all the time. And thereby, in 2021, everything got amplified, which means the density went from hopelessness to lack, meaning not only am I hopeless, I have given up at the time that we have hit our greatest ascension moment. Mm-hmm. It's when we self-annihilate. It's when we impose our own restrictions, rather than, if you look at the ascended energy, we are at the single most abundant moment we have ever had. We have the opportunity for planetary harmony, the opportunity to really look at shared resources, joy-filled spirit, and life-enhancing ways of being.
Life-enhancing ways of being spring forth from a heart that is anchored in the trust of the divine and the trust in your creative nature. Mm-hmm. Your mastery expresses through your creative nature.
Exactly.
One of the things that's on the chart talks about World War III. It's important to recontextualize that as well, because...
Are we not already there?
Exactly. Exactly. That global conflict has come in through bio, it has come in through financial, and it will likely express.
And I want to stop any of you that are going down any conspiracy modes right now. Shri is not trying to trigger that.
No.
What we're trying to help you lift up through passionate action is this. The conflicts are already here.
They're already here.
The challenges are already here. So stop focusing on it. That which you focus on expands.
And that is exactly
and your fear feeds it.
This is where your freedom lies.
Exactly.
That the moment we allow the Velcro of the outer thought forms, meaning the conspiracy theories or the belief in lack, in whatever fashion, the moment we allow that to be swallowed whole, then we will find the concepts and the political beliefs and the tribes that will honor that belief system. When we anchor in the truth of our ascended heart, the truth of our love, we will radiate unto us and around us the energy of joy, the energy of divine creation, of passion that has not discarded anyone. It's the passion of compassion. And that energy will create a whole new context, a whole new system. People who are deep in density say, show me the white paper before I learn to trust.
Right.
People who are in the ascended consciousness say,
let's create.
Let's move into our divine trust and collaborate together.
There it is, right? There it is. And Sri, I want to share one thing because it's just a caveat. Archangel Zadkiel in our book, Sacred Union, The Journey Home, which if you have not read, you need to read. Archangel Zadkiel said there that the false god, he listed all the false gods that would come up in this moment. But the false god of money is the big one on the table right now. And that's what are you seeing? The false god of money. And so look at your own life. Many around my own circle are being having to re-engage the false god of money. If money is your god, it's going to get ready to take you on one heck of a ride. So give yourself the gift of not letting it be your God. If your mastery presence is illuminated and guiding, your abundance is unlimited. Your resources are incredible, and they will always be there. It's literally build it, and they are coming now. So, Sri, are there phone lines? I've been seeing lots of things popping up over there on the other computer.
Well, we do have some. We got a question over here at BBS.
Okay, and I think we've got like some question confusion going on at Oneness as well. So let's. We go to BBS first.
Yeah. So
all right.
We'll head to line 2, and we'll say hi to Haley from Canada.
Hey, Haley from Canada. Namaste and welcome.
Hi, blessings to both of you. How are you?
We're wondrous. Wonderful to talk to you, sweetheart.
Oh, thank you. I sort of knew today I was going to get through to the line, and I had a question about my light language.
What is your question? Sounds like you're asking for a reading, sweetie.
Go ahead.
It came in a couple of years ago. I had it as a child, and it's just sort of reawakened. And I feel that I'm meant to utilize it to assist others.
Okay, can we mute her, please?
Yeah.
Sweetheart, I'm only muting you because we only have a few minutes left, and we thought you had a question about the material, not a personal question. So that's okay. Here's what I'm going to share with you. Trust. You're actually mimicking what we just talked about on the show today. They're saying, look, go into the trust model. You've got it. You've got it. Go for it, sweetheart. All right, let's jump over to Oneness Talk Radio, Sri. Maybe we'll give some balance here.
Okay. So the one thing I want to mention is that everything that comes in is there for your discernment.
Yes, always. And do we even have time for someone else? I think we can.
Okay.
All right, let's go over to Oneness Talk Radio, and let's see. I can't see everybody that's here. Okay. Where are we going?
Well,
there's so many. Sri keeps scrolling. I'm like, I can't look. I'm getting dizzy.
All right, we're going to
land on somebody.
We're going to land on Anonymous.
We're landing on Anonymous. All right.
Hello.
Maybe they don't know they're anonymous.
Okay.
All right. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to let it go.
Let it go.
And we only have 2 minutes. And guys, here's the key. I really do hear the divine director sharing that today was about you calling in right now. May is a choice month, and I do love that our only caller was really about a choice. Mm-hmm. Trust is a choice. Illumination is a choice. Fear is a choice. Today we tried to offer you some just nice left brain perspective that says, look, nobody around you is conspiring to limit you except you. Can you break through that?
It's important to recognize that everything that you think is real, that is, everything you respond to, is calling you to decide, do I accept this as real, or was this a nudge to wake up even more?
There you go.
Every time we have a fear,
every
time we get a little collapse because someone said something unkind to us, and I feel like a child.
That's reactive emotionality.
That's your reactive, and that will feed the fear column.
There it is.
And
it's an addiction.
When you look at that and your response and take a breath and can expand through it,
there it is.
Then we can feed the expansion column, so to speak, the ascension energy. The yoga of self-ascension is not about living in heaven. It's about doing the yoga, meaning the discipline that it takes to maintain that state of connection and divine expansion.
Which once attained or once integrated, because it's really just about integrating the eternal now, right? Just constantly integrating the now. And so as you integrate the now, then it's just you. At the end of the day, we're just being. And together, we are being better.
You know, I want to remind you all to visit ShriAndKira.com. There's a couple of things coming up that you're going to want to know about.
Yeah.
And one of them, if any of you have an interest in turbocharging your intuitive healing practice, your energy healing practice.
This Saturday, get in there.
In 1 week, we're starting the medical intuitive training. It is fabulous.
Learn to scan.
We have set up a system, so even if you don't think you can intuitively see things, yes, you can. There's a couple of steps in there that'll surprise and delight you to be of greater connection to truth and connection to the essence of everyone around you.
ShriAndKira.com. It's right on the homepage, taught by my amazing husband. Guys, it's a choice month. Your truth is being invited to fly, and your crown is inviting you to be the master you are.
We have enjoyed being with you today, and we look forward to the next time we're live together. Namaste.
Thank you for joining us at Shri and Kira Live. To have your questions answered, send us an email to guest@ShriAndKiraRadio.com and check out more information at ShriAndKira.com. See you next week. Namaste.